In the spring of 1315, the skies over northern Europe turned dark. Rain fell for weeks, soaking fields and swelling rivers. Farmers watched helplessly as crops drowned and roads turned to thick, sucking mud. By autumn, the harvest was a disaster. The rain had won, and hunger was on its way. In the 14th century, there were no newspapers or radios. Most people never traveled far from home. When the crops failed in one village, people did not know if it was the same everywhere. Each community hoped the next town would have food to spare. Messengers on horseback sometimes brought grim news from nearby markets. No bread in the next town, they might say. The fields are ruined there too. But rumors mixed with facts. Some believed the famine was local. Others heard wild stories about strange diseases or punishments from God. Because communication was so slow, no one understood how wide the famine had spread. Leaders in distant cities could not send help quickly. Even churches, which usually gathered and shared food, were overwhelmed. The lack of information made the hunger even harder to bear. The uncertainty was almost as heavy as hunger itself. People wondered if their suffering was unique, or if the whole world was starving. This confusion made it difficult to plan or hope for relief. The poorest felt hunger first. Landless laborers, widows, and orphans depended on charity or daily wages. As famine continued, inequality grew. The rich feasted while the poor starved. Some gave charity, but it was never enough. By the winter of 1315, hunger was everywhere. People ate less each day. Bread became thinner and coarser, sometimes mixed with ground-up beans or even bark. Soon, there was not enough flour for everyone. Meat, always rare for the poor, disappeared almost entirely. As the famine dragged on, bodies changed. Children grew thin, their faces hollow and eyes too large. Adults became weak, unable to work long hours in the fields or woods. Sickness followed hunger. Diseases like dysentery and pneumonia spread faster among those with empty stomachs. Spirits weakened too. People became irritable and afraid. Some turned to desperate measures, stealing food from neighbors' fields or markets. Others simply gave up, too tired to fight. But most tried to hold on, doing whatever they could to survive another day. Hunger made every day a struggle. The body's needs were simple, but meeting them became nearly impossible. The famine was not just a test of strength, but of spirit and hope. When barns and pantries emptied, survival meant finding food wherever possible. People gathered wild plants, nettles, roots, and acorns. Some collected snails, frogs, or birds from the fields and woods. In towns, groups scavenged for spoiled grain or scraps in the marketplace. Villagers organized foraging parties, searching the forest together. They shared what they found, even if it was just a handful of berries or mushrooms. Sometimes people boiled leather shoes or old animal bones, hoping for a little nourishment. Creativity and desperation went hand in hand. In the countryside, some families slaughtered their last animals. Chickens, goats, even workhorses were eaten. This meant less food and work power in the future, but for many, it was the only choice. People traded what little they had, tools, blankets, or clothes, for a few bites to eat. These tactics were not enough to end hunger, but they helped some survive. The famine forced everyone to learn new skills and to rely on each other more than ever. As hunger deepened, some people left their homes in search of food. Whole families set out on muddy roads, carrying what little they owned. They traveled to market towns, monasteries, or distant villages rumored to have extra grain. Many found only more hunger and closed gates. Displacement brought new dangers. Traveling was slow and risky. Thieves waited along the roads. Children and the elderly often could not keep up. Some towns refused entry to strangers, fearing disease or theft. People slept in barns, under trees, or in ruined mills. In a few tragic cases, people did unthinkable things to survive. Chroniclers wrote of theft, violence, and even cannibalism, though these were rare and desperate acts. Most people, however, tried to hold on to their humanity, even in the worst moments. Movement during the famine was a gamble. Some found help in new places, but many returned home empty-handed. Displacement showed how hunger could break old ties, but also form new ones among people on the road. Even in the darkest times, people found ways to help each other. Villagers pooled food for communal meals. Monasteries and churches opened their doors, giving bread, soup, or shelter to those in need. Local lords sometimes lowered rents or forgave debts for the poorest tenants. Families and neighbors formed tight bonds. People cared for each other's children, shared firewood, and helped in the fields when someone grew too weak to work. In some places, village councils set rules so food could be shared fairly. The sense of we are all in this together grew stronger. Religious faith played a role too. People prayed together, held processions, and asked saints for mercy. Though not all prayers were answered, these shared rituals brought comfort and hope. Many survived because of kindness and cooperation. The famine tested human nature, showing both the worst and the best in people. In 1317, the rain finally eased. The sun returned, and the ground began to dry. Farmers planted new crops with the little seed they had left. This time, the harvest was better. Slowly, barns filled up again. Cattle and sheep returned to the pastures. Recovery was not quick. Many had sold or eaten their tools and animals. Some villages were smaller, their populations thinned by hunger and disease. But life returned, and hope slowly grew. People rebuilt homes, mended fences, and made new plans for the future. The end of famine brought relief, but also sadness for those who had been lost. Churches held special prayers for the dead. Many people vowed to store more grain or help neighbors in need when hard times returned. The experience left a mark on everyone who had survived. The return of good weather did not erase the pain, but it proved that hardship could end. People learned to value what they had, and each other. The Great Famine of 1315 to 1317 changed Europe forever. Ordinary people learned that nature's power was greater than any human plan. The famine showed the importance of sharing, of kindness, and of working together in hard times. Communities remembered the hunger for generations. They built bigger granaries. They kept closer watch on the weather. Some laws changed to protect the poor, and church leaders reminded people to be generous in times of plenty. The famine taught everyone that disaster could strike anyone, rich or poor, young or old. Stories of the famine were passed down in families, told by grandparents to children. These tales reminded people to never take food for granted. The memory of those hungry years shaped how people planted, traded, and prayed. Though the famine brought great suffering, it also inspired resilience and change. Its lessons still echo through history, reminding us that, even in the darkest times, hope and humanity can survive.